Welcome back. Today's video we're installing cadet wall heaters and we're also installing some electric heat thermostats. In today's video is going to be from a start to finish project, and I'll also be drawing out some diagrams on the thermostats so you can have a better understanding on this installation. And the first one we'll be working on is the 240 unit, so I'll push that to the side. You're going to need a double pole single throw 20 amp breaker. This is a 4,000 watt unit, 240 volts. Our BTUs is 13,650, amps 16.7. And this unit will give you a high output fan forced heat. Some time back I did make a video on a cadet wall heater, and I know a lot of you enjoyed your video and reached out to me and said it was very helpful. So I decided to make another video installing the 240. Here's the unit that I installed in that video, and its on and off is controlled by this switch. I'll leave you the link in the description at the bottom of that video. Now, the first thing you need to do is figure out where do you want the unit. And once you figure that out, the next question is, can you install the unit there? Now, for your 240 unit, you kind of want it in the center of your room. And I'm thinking for this room, this is the best area. We're going to have to relocate this stuff. Only you know your house better than anyone else. You have to have an idea of, okay, is there plumbing back there? Is there electrical back there? Is there galvanized pipes, radiator lines, drain lines? Because the last thing you want to do is pop a hole in the wall and you bust a line. We've all seen those type of videos, so I'm gonna relocate this and we're going to cut a hole in this wall. Now, when installing your unit, the minimum height is 4.5 inches, but we'll be installing this somewhere around the 12-inch mark. It's much more convenient to have it a little bit up higher. Now, you don't want it too high because remember, heat rises. And to get it between two studs, if you have a stud finder, that'll help. Okay, this took some time to cut this out because look at this. Here we have some drywall. Then over here is an inch thick of cement board. But I finally got it out. Let's look in here. I'm going to have to cut this 2x3 out. This isn't a low bearing wall. I know this because I've been in the attic and I can see that this was just used just to make this shape here, because you see it's in a 30-degree angle. That's the angle right here on this corner going down the basement steps. So I decided to cut out a hole because I'm trying to figure out how to run this thermostat. We decided we're going to, perhaps, if I can, put the thermostat on this side. But check this out. When I cut a hole here, I found that there's another room in there. My whole arm fits inside here all the way up. Maybe there's a bag of money down there somewhere. So this project just turned into be something a lot more bigger because I'm curious. I'm gonna cut this whole wall out right here because we can use this for shelving or something. We could use that space. That's extra space, and I'm pretty sure the wife would love to put her plants there. Let's cut this open. This just probably turned into a treasure hunt. Well, there was no bag of money, unfortunately, but this is a lot of space just to hide it behind this sheetrock here. But keep going up, see how far it goes. It's open, look at that. It's crazy that someone hid that behind the wall. This is about 12 inches deep, the shelf. 26.5 wide, 45.5 of height. Who would have known, wanting to put a cadet wall heater here, that I will find a hidden gem. Recessed shelving, I'll take it any day. A contractor to do this in someone's home will easily charge over 400 bucks for something like this, and that's not including the material. Okay, I'm in the shop right now, so I decided the best way to teach how to wire up our non-programmable electric heat thermostat is to draw you guys a diagram. Sometime back I did a diagram on how to wire up a 3-way motion sensor switch, and a lot of people reached out to me and thanked me for that video, so I think that's probably the best way to teach this. We're going to start this diagram with our breaker. Here we have our breaker. Our breaker is a double pole, single throw breaker. And this will be our source of power. And let me just write here what it is. We'll be using 12-2 Romex for this project. And our 12-2 wire will have a black wire, white wire, and our ground. This one here is our ground. And our black is a hot wire. And our white, for this application, it's also going to be a hot wire. Because we're doing a 240 line, our white wire is not a neutral, it's a hot. So for our white wire, I'm going to use this red Sharpie just to indicate that it's our secondary hot. So what we have here is we have 120 going out from this hot, 120 going out from this hot, which that gives us our 240. Let me just draw a box here. This is what this is our jacket, or you call it sleeving, whatever. But this is our Romex wire. And I'll just draw an arrow to that. And our ground, for those that don't know, it connects to our bus bar. Ground bar, bus bar. And that's the bar that you will see inside your main electrical panel box, which you will see your neutral lines and your ground lines connected to. And forgive me for the way I spelled neutral. I was thinking too far ahead and I put a T and almost left out the U. Okay, so now we got the source of the power out the way, our 20 amp double pole circuit breaker on our 12-2 Romex wire with our ground that connects to the bus bar. And now what we all been waiting for, our non-programmable electric heat thermostat. Now how I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna turn it around so you can see your L1. Not sure if you can see that there. Then we have an L2. Under that is our T2 and T1. So now let's draw our double pole thermostat here. Now our thermostat is L1. Then over here we have our L2. We have our T1 and T2. And we're just going to write what it is. Now that we got that out the way, I want you to remember, keep in mind, this is our white wire. And anytime you're using the neutral as a hot, you have to place some black electrical tape on it to indicate that it's being used as a hot line. And that is a must. Put your black electrical tape on it before you connect it to your breaker and before you connect it to your thermostat. This way, someone in the future, if they're ever pulling this out, they know that that wire is not a neutral. Now, your T1 and T2, these wires, what they're going to do is going to connect to your unit. And you all already know that our unit is the Cadet Wall Heater. And here we have our compact Cadet Wall Heater. Now, our ground doesn't get connected to the actual unit. It goes to the metal housing to our Cadet Wall Heater. Inside the metal housing, there will be a ground screw. And that's where your ground connects to. Now, what they've done with this unit is they daisy chained two heaters together. But you will have still one red line and one black line. So T2 will connect to that red wire that's in your Cadet Wall Heater, and T1 connects to the other black wire that's in your unit. But don't forget that here, this will be your Romex wire that's white, and you have to, on both sides, put some black electrical tape to indicate that it's being used as a hot. Don't forget that. So this diagram here pretty much sums everything up. I believe you should be able to wire up your thermostat to your unit with this diagram. And if anyone's still a little confused and needs some extra notes, I'll put some notes over here in this corner. And I'm running out of space here, but a few more notes here. And some extra notes just in case anyone has some other questions. Well, there's my diagram. If you want to take a screenshot, go ahead right there. And just to show you the back of the unit, here's our red wire, our black wire, where you get 120 going in. Here's our thermostat, our T1 and T2. This black wire connects to this black wire, and this red wire will connect to this red wire, just like our diagram. I just realized something on my diagram. I should have added the word twin, because that's what this is. It's a twin Cadet Wall Heater. So now if you want to take a screenshot. Now let's talk a little bit more about our thermostat here. This one is what they call a double pole thermostat, because it has 4 wires, and that's how you can do your 240 with a double pole. They do sell single pole thermostats, but there you will have only 2 wires, and those 2 wires will be basically your hot and a neutral. And the single pole, you will use it on a single wall heater, not a twin. But you can use a double pole on a single, and that's what I'll be also using, double poles on my single, and I'll show you how to do that as well. And if you're asking, but why I will use a double pole on a single Cadet Wall Heater? Well, because a double pole thermostat has an actual off feature. As you can see the word off. Your single pole thermostats do not have an off feature. So how a single pole thermostat works is basically you just drop it to the lowest setting, because now what the thermostat is waiting for the room temperature that you have it set to drop under that. Then your single pole thermostat will kick on the unit. So how I want it when I want it off, I want it to be off. I don't want any voltage going to my Cadet Wall Heater. And that's why I'll be installing the double poles. Now I'm going to show you how to check if your thermostat is working the way it should be. So we have our leads connected to the L1 and T1. I have the meter on dial. So when I turn our switch, and when you hear the switch click, we should get a continuity. That's good. Now I'm going to switch my leads to the opposite side. I have my leads on the opposite side now. You hear it? Now let's turn it off. Off. That's how you can test if your thermostat is working. If you put it on the off position and it's still beeping, that means it's not shutting off the way it should be shutting off, and just send it back. And remember, that's L2 and T2. Now put it on, should beep. Hope that short little test didn't confuse anyone. This has nothing to do with wiring this thermostat up. It's just basically a way to test it, to ensure that you didn't get a bad unit. These work good. I'm going to show you one that does not work the way it should work. So I'm going to put it on. You hear it? Now it should stop beeping when I go on the off. See that? Something's wrong with this. Now if I play with the button, like pinching it, this is no good. It's trash. So I'll be sending this one back and get my money. Or if they have in stock, then I'll just have it replaced, because I still need it. It is what it is. Sometimes when you order stuff from Amazon, you know, some of the boxes get mistreated. It probably was thrown around. Not saying that at the manufacturer or wherever it was at that they didn't do a QC or check it right. It probably just got damaged during transit. These are manufactured in Mexico, so that's a long ride. Right now I'm prepping my metal gang box. What I'm doing is get a ground screw, some grounding wire, copper wire from, I have a roll here that I purchased years ago. But if you don't have copper wire like this, just cut your 12-2 wire, pull the copper line out of there. This is important. Every metal box in your house should be grounded. It's a must. That's all you need to do. They do sell these already set up at Lowe's and Home Depot, but they're pretty pricey. It's way cheaper just to do it yourself. Got my boxes all grounded. Remember on the diagram I showed that my Cadet Wall Heater metal housing has an area for grounding. That's our grounding screw. So I'm just remove that and place a ground wire on that as well. Okay, now our housing's grounded as well. Now every box has a knockout. I'll be knocking out on the back side because I'm hanging these between the rafters. I'll show you when I get downstairs to the basement, and I'm gonna knock out this corner of our metal housing. And I'll be using these 3/8 cable connectors. I have 3 hung, the other 2 I'm gonna put in between, and I'm evenly spacing these out. All 5 hung already. The first one over here, that'll be the one I'm gonna use for my 240. Then this one will be for the Cadet for the basement bathroom. I'll be putting it somewhere around this area here. And these 3 will be for 3 bedrooms. So I don't think I mentioned why we are installing all these Cadet wall heaters. The reason is because this house is oil. It gets heated by oil. This is the big boy that heats up the house. It's basically 2-in-1. It also does the hot water as well. But you know, if you're not new to the channel, you already know that. I eliminated that part because oil's just too expensive. And I started using this tankless water heater. I love this unit. This unit is awesome. It heats up the water for 2 bathrooms. But this house is radiators as well. And the oil prices are just ridiculous. It's just too high. When we first moved here, the oil prices, this was before COVID, for 5 weeks, it was always around the $370 to $390 mark. Now, as of now, for 2024, for 5 weeks, the bill always comes at least $1,100 to $1,300. That is ridiculous. That is just way too expensive. And that's that we stopped using the system for showers. And it's only being used for the radiators. And it's still expensive. So that's the reason why we're installing all these Cadet wall heaters. And it makes sense because we have solar. Some time back, I did upgrade to a 200 amp service because I was getting ready for today's project of heating this house up with Cadet wall heaters. Just in case anybody wanted to know why I'm installing all these Cadet wall heaters, that's the reason why. Oil's just too expensive and I had to cut that out. And here's the big tank that holds all the oil. Unfortunately, it is in the basement. We still have a little over 3/4. But after these Cadet wall heaters are installed, yes, we're going to stop using this oil. Now what's next on our list is to run our 12-2 wire. Now the best thing to do is try to run your wire along the floor, because I need to get our 12-2 wire all the way to the other end over here. Through that hole I drilled out right there. Pops out on this side. There you go. Right there. Then from there to there. Goes up. And up through there. Get it up across to the box I installed on the wall. Not sure if I showed you, but I had already did this the other night. Just to show you where I'm at in the house. Here's what I discovered. I just made the little hole here bigger. And this box isn't connected yet. I just have it in there. This morning I picked up some of this dust control compound. Now for this area, when we're going down the stairs, I will be putting some conduit pipe in this area. I don't want the electrical line here because kids will be kids. I don't want a child to see, oh, that bright yellow cable and decide to grab onto it and hang off of it. So for this area, I will be putting conduit pipe. On this end, I'll be putting a 90. And the opposite end, I'll be putting this fitting here. The reason why you want a fitting like this is because when you have your 12-2 wire going in, you don't want it going directly into the conduit pipe like this, because it can get damaged, because this is sharp metal here on the edge, and you don't want the jacket of your 12-2 wire getting damaged. I have our 12-2 wire coming in, coming out. And that's why I made this hole big enough so I could reach down in there. And don't be concerned making the hole big. It's only sheetrock and plaster. I have a little cutout here for this spot, because when I first made this hole, I wanted it more centered, but then there was wood on that side, so I had to move it over 1/2 inch. But that's what this piece is for. When I'm ready, just make that right size, plaster, we're good. And here's the gun I'll be using today. I love this gun. This staple gun is designed for electrical wires. Here's the staples. Here's the gauge wires you could use it for. You could staple 1 or 2 cables at a time. Now you don't need this. You can just use some regular staples, but this speeds up the process. I have my first cable in the first box. Have it nice and stapled every few feet. Now I just have to tighten these screws. Have my piece of conduit in with a 90. I'll probably put a clamp here somewhere later on. But remember, like I said on the diagram, this is not a neutral, so we need to put some electrical tape. Now that lets everyone know that that is not a neutral, it's a hot. Now, if my math is correct, I should have enough 12-2 wire to reach my Cadet Wall Heater. So you want at least 6 inches of cable. There you go. I haven't tightened the screws yet. I just kept it loose for now. Now I'm gonna run this one down to where our Cadet Wall Heater is gonna be. Okay. Nice. Oh yeah. And now you want to hand tighten these. Try to avoid using the drill, because you can end up just damaging the box and stripping it. At least when you hand tighten, you can actually feel when it's nice and tight. See? That's good enough. Now what you'll want to always do is remember which one's the source of your power. So I always put the source at the top, coming from the top into the box. And then what feeds my heater, I put it at the bottom, coming from the bottom in. This way I don't make the mistake and accidentally put the source directly to the heater. You don't want to do that. Just take your time. Pay attention to what you're doing. Avoid mistakes. I'm gonna say it again. Make sure you label your whites as a hot. I'm gonna keep repeating myself because there's a lot of people out there, they don't think this is important enough. Next thing you know, 5-6 years down the line, someone gets hurt. I closed up that little gap last night, closed up this area. I just slapped some plaster on and I'm gonna have to just wait for that to dry right. So let's get our metal housing in. And just a heads up, the Cadet Wall Heater does not bring any screws to mount it to any studs. So I'm gonna get 2 pieces of wood, one for here, one for this side, so I have something to mount to. So I cut up some 2x3, so I'll be sticking these right behind here, nice and flush. Have my 2 pieces now screwed in, and now I'm making my connections here. So we have 2 grounds. I'm using Wago nuts for this. Okay, so that's it. Our grounds are connected. Check them to the side here. Okay. Now, let me try to scoot in here. Hopefully I think I'm in the camera view. Let me see. So, your white to your red. And your black to your black. And that's it. That's it for there. Let's put this in here. Move my cables back out the way. Just gotta, let me show you. What I'm doing is I'm tucking them underneath here. So now when I close it, get out of my way there. Nice. You want to make sure that your unit is sitting on these grooves. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me move it so you can kind of see it better. See that? You want to make sure it slides right in there. Now, remember the 2 screws I said don't lose? Here we go. One goes on each side. I'm gonna go ahead and put my cover on even though I haven't finished the plaster work, because I just don't want to leave it on the floor and it ends up getting scratched or someone accidentally steps on this. For the cover you get 2 screws. I noticed that the holes are a lot smaller than the screw, but I'm just force it in there. I guess that's how it's supposed to be. Or the wrong size hole was drilled out. Easier than it looked like. I need to find the other hole. Let's see if we're leveled. Yep, we're leveled. Good. Now we're removing the cover to our non-programmable thermostat. It just holds on with these two little notches, one on each side. So just like our diagram, T1 is here, T2 is there, and those are the two that we wire to our unit. But before we make any connections, connect your grounds first. Okay. Get our grounds in our box here. And this tool here is specifically designed to get stubborn cables that don't want to go in the box And remember, it's important, do not mix your cables. Remember, I came from the bottom up, that's to our unit. And from the top down is our source of power. Don't mix this, it's important. Now I'm connecting T2 to the white wire. That's to the unit. And T1 to the black wire that's going to the unit. Okay. Now you don't need to do this. I like to connect some electrical tape when I use Wago nuts right here. When I'm sticking them in these smaller boxes. Now L2 goes connected to our source. And L1 to the black of our source as well. Okay, now to tuck everything in our box. Now we have our thermostat in and our twin Cadet wall heater. Now we need to run the source from our panel box to the metal gang box we installed in the ceiling. To do this, we are using a 20 amp double pole breaker. Now for this part, for running your wire to your gang box that we installed in the ceiling, if you're not comfortable in any way whatsoever, then you shouldn't do this. Hire a licensed electrician to take care of this part for you. What we did here, all the way to across, up the wall, installing your heater and your thermostat, that is the DIY part of this project. If you follow the diagram, you'll be able to do it. As for removing this cover, going in there, installing your breaker is extremely dangerous. If you do this, you will be doing it at your own risk. I am not a licensed electrician, but I've been doing this for over 20 years. Like I said, if you're not comfortable in any way, hire a licensed electrician. With that being said, let's get back to the project. So I'm going to show you. This 40 amp double pole used to be for the AC unit that was in this house. The central air this year, it died on us. And it's an old, very old unit, and it's not even worth even trying to fix it. So what I'll be doing is I'll be removing this 40 amp, using this space to install our 20 amp. And while I'm at it, I'm going to install another 20 amp breaker for the unit that I'll be installing in this bathroom. Now, just because if you shut it off at the main, that does not mean that there is no powers in here. Yes, there is still power inside your panel box. You still have power coming in through your main. So I know for this part here, it's going to be different for everyone. I know there's people out there that follow me that are in Canada, the UK. So your outdoor meter might not even be nowhere near mine. It has the same application, but it's going to be different. And typically you have to get permission from your utility company to even tamper with the outdoor meter, because most for homeowners, you actually don't own the outdoor meter. That meter belongs to whoever provides you the electric service to your property. So for this part, I'm going to have to get my headlamp and probably my rigid flashlight to put in here, because this room's going to get the whole house. I'm shutting down the whole house, so it's going to get dark down here. So I'll remove this. I'll remove the wire. I don't know which one it is up top. I'll figure that out. Then I'll run my new 12-2 line in and connect our new breaker. Okay, I just shut it off from the main. Let's shut this off as well. This house is solder. And just make sure you get the right bit. Let's shut everything down. Okay, got my wires connected to my breaker. As you see, I labeled it as a hot. Now we just gotta seat it in place. Okay, I got this one for my 240, which will go over there, and I'm starting to run the new one. That's the 120 Cadet Wall Heater. Okay, now that we have our new breaker in, and this 20 amp breaker for the other unit we'll be installing as well, make sure they're on the off position. And even though you know they're on the off position, you want to make sure that your lines aren't live. So we're going to put our grounds together. Okay, you should have 3 grounds. One ground from our source, the other ground going to our thermostat, and the ground from our metal box. Now we're going to connect these 2 hots and these 2 hots together, just like so. Now let's turn on our 20 amp breaker. Now both of these should read hot. And your ground better not read anything. Let's turn it off until we're ready to test the unit. And here's how I labeled my box. This is connected to breaker 5 and 7. It's 240 volts. And this one is not in use, but since the source is connected to the breaker, we need to put either our wire nuts, wiggle nuts, and close this box up, just in case that someone doesn't come and turn it on. Then we have live wire in the ceiling. I have this one now closed as well. I even labeled my cable here, source 240, then the 12-2 line that's feeding the unit, I have it labeled as Twin Cadet. Now let's turn on our new unit. Now we're back upstairs. Now what you want to do is you want to turn it clockwise all the way to your highest setting. Now let's turn on our thermostat. We got it on 70. And our unit is on. Oh yeah. So now once the temperature of your room reaches 70, your wall heater will shut off. Just so you know, we can run the wires directly to our unit because this is a thermostat. But what I don't like about it is that you really don't have an idea on what temperature you're setting it to. But with the non-programmable thermostat, you know exactly what you're setting it to. It's been a few days now and the unit is working great. It turns on and off like we want it to. You can connect one of the very fancy digital thermostats. They're pretty pricey, so I was looking at some of them are around $100 or even more than $100. This one was 21 bucks. It's a non-programmable one. It suits me. It does what I want it to do, and I'm happy with it. Because there are some thermostats that you could actually control through Wi-Fi and with your cell phone, and I don't need that. This one's doing exactly what I want it to do. I hope this video helps someone out there. Like and subscribe, hit that bell icon, and I'll see you on the next one. And don't forget, I will be releasing another video on how to install the 1500 watt Cadet Wall Heater with a double pole thermostat as well. See you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I'm in the shop right now. I decided the best way to show you guys how to wire your non-programmable program. It does what I want it to do, and I'm happy with it. Because there are some thermostats that